Good afternoon, everybody. And I want to thank the TAL Foundation for extending this invitation and opportunity for me to speak. And I also want to congratulate the TAL founders for coming up with this wonderful idea of supporting philanthropy and kindness. So today's talk, I know you took a lot of your time to come and spend this 15 minutes with me, and also some folks are watching remotely. I like to make this 15 minutes very worthwhile and very helpful to you and entertaining to the extent possible. So this is mostly about my own experience, but it's really meant for giving some advice that is relevant for you, because most of the people today who are looking at me or talking to me, listening to me, are entrepreneurs or professionals or high achievers or would-be high achievers or somebody who has that in the family who has the potential to give. So with that assumption, I'll start. So let me start with the definition of philanthropy. What is philanthropy? It's the definition is actually, it says love for humankind. So, and as you can see, it is, philos is derived from Greek. It means, and then anthropos is human, so it's humankind. That's what it is for. So usually philanthropists give something. What do we give? We either spare time, or we share our talent, effort, expertise, and skills, or we part with our treasure. Treasure could be the money, or in-kind materials, or anything that we like to give something of value. I'm sure right now or down the road, you have an opportunity to accumulate any of these things and something that you can spare. And with that, in general, most people are philanthropic, but the time and opportunity will be different for different people, depending on what stage they're in their life. So why do people give? What is their motivation? So I wish I could read that very clearly and explain one by one, but there are different reasons. And depending on the nature of a person, there could be people who are like, who like community, some people who like to do good, some people who are religious, so they want to give because God told them to give. So whatever the means are, there are different factors which motivate people. And I myself can give some reasons why I did what I did at different stages of my life. So, for example, when my wife is a doctor, before I start, let me give a little bit about my background. I'm an entrepreneur. I grew up in India. I went to a Catholic school. Maybe they imbibed some kind of philanthropic interest in me. And my grandfather and my grandmother were a great influence on me. They instilled good values. My dad was a teacher. He was the first graduate in India when the number of graduates in our city could be counted in a whole state. So he could have opportunity to do everything, anything he wanted, but he chose teaching. So I guess I inherited some of the giving kind of thing from the family. But I came to the US, I'm an entrepreneur. My wife is a cardiologist and practices here. So when she started residency in San Francisco, I made a major contribution to a hospital there in San Francisco. At the time, my daughter was 2 years old. I had no idea why I should give the money. But we just gave because something felt right, so we helped them. So it was a significant amount of contribution, so much so that they put my name on the wall there. So I'm mentioning that because one of the motivating factors for giving, I don't know what it was, it could be one of those. Later on, I was building my house, in city of Montecito here. And I had a difficult time with the construction, with the city. Then I realized, why is it happening? And then once I completed my construction, I became Site and Architecture Commissioner so that nobody else in my position will have any difficulty when they want their permits to be passed. So I gave a lot of my time there. But again, it boils down to one of those reasons, whatever motivated me at that time. I'm giving all these stories so that way down the road, when I explain, it becomes so easy for you to understand. Then I was on the board of KQUD. For those people who know public radio, KQUD is a very prestigious organization here. I was on the board for 4 years. I was a vice chair as well. And I think this is the times when I really enjoyed going to San Francisco, and we were having my son plays hockey. We had a SAP center. We have a hockey games we used to go to. We have actually a suite there. And we used to go and enjoy with the family and friends and everybody. It was a wonderful thing to have that. And then there were times when there was something going on in my children's school, or we were all watching the hockey at the whole family. And that same day, there's a board meeting in San Francisco. And by the time I came, I missed the game or good times with the family. And then my kids were going to school, and we were very philanthropic in general. Nobody asked us any money, but we gave enough contribution that the biology center was named after us, Madala Biology Center. But at that time, my daughter was in 9th grade, and there was a time when we felt like she's a very smart kid, and it so happened in one of the subjects she was not getting, in physics actually, was not getting a good grade. And she wanted to do something, we had some difficulty. At the time, it would have been so embarrassing situation where the biology center is named after us, but my daughter may not be able to take AP biology. That would have been an embarrassing situation. So I think this is exactly the time it hit me. You know, we're doing all this philanthropic work, we're giving time, money, and all these things. Is it really worth it? What philanthropy starts, there's some saying, charity begins at home. So if you don't take care of yourself, if you don't take care of your family and friends and the community, I don't know what else you could do. So the reason I mentioned that, and I pause here, is this is where something happened to me and my wife, and you just start thinking about it. So we looked at philanthropy. The times and schedules are significant in the sense that, I like to actually spend all day today here because I like what you guys are doing. It's just that only today, I can't spend all day. Had it been some other day, I could do it. I was supposed to have a good meeting with one of your organizers, Barry, here. And that same time, I was recovering from COVID. I just had COVID actually at the time. So it is true, the most expensive commodity we all have right now is time. And families in general, philanthropy is driven by availability of your time and your schedules and your interests and your motivation. So what are the odds? A whole family, for Thanksgiving, you sit down and try to watch a movie, you can't get a consensus on what movie to watch. Because it's hard. People's interests are different, and as you grow older, people become opinionated. But nowadays, young people are even more opinionated. A 2-year-old actually is more opinionated than a 60-year-old. So how do you do this? So these are the challenges people have. That's why we paused and we said, we try to blend our giving, our philanthropy, and our time with what is relevant for the family. It keeps us together. So at that same time, my daughter, who's here, she had a small health issue, which was actually treatable and curable, and it's very inexpensive cure as well. So my wife was able to diagnose that, and then at the time, she took care of that. And immediately after that, she started going back to the way she was, which is straight A student, is excellent, and everything. Then she wanted to know what that was, and that health issue, how many people are aware of it. She did a survey of it. Not many people knew about it. The findings were so interesting that became a paper for Endocrinology Society, which is actually a conference that goes on for medical doctors. But she was in 9th grade and 10th grade. So then she started an organization called Healthy Scholars Foundation, which is a 501c3 organization. And the amount of money I gave to her is really, really small. But she was able to, her message was so good that she was able to receive $250,000 in contributions from some of them from well-known foundations. And she started screening. Her whole foundation message was, there are some health issues for children. If they're not diagnosed and treated properly, they keep on impacting the health. So we keep pressing the wrong buttons when kids are not getting good grades, when in fact, they're doing their best, but the reason why they're not getting good grades is because they have some health issue. It could be vision, it could be hearing, it could be hypothyroidism, it could be sleeplessness or something else. So, and that was her foundation cause. And it went on very well, actually. So she did a health screening camp, for example, in India. Several camps they did when she was in 10th and 11th grades and 12th grades. And so much so that her message got attracted some people from even Stanford. There was a couple of folks who went to Stanford. They're not even from India. So they're doing masters and entrepreneurs. They became their CEO and COO, and they started working together. In fact, Stanford University sent one of her medical students, ophthalmology students, to India to do the research there when you're doing health camp, and that resulted in several papers for her, and also another additional paper for my daughter as well. And this is in India. But then, when she was talking about it, there is this town called Fresno. Most people may know about it. It's about 200 miles from here. And there is a town called Corcoran. The largest population of the town is because of a federal prison there. And the community there is mostly Hispanic, and they're not really well off, although they're close to Silicon Valley. Interestingly, the school superintendent there was interested in implementing healthy scholars thing there. Usually in schools, they do not touch the healthcare related things because of HIPAA regulations and stuff like that. They made an exception, and they started doing the same thing, screenings there. The only difference this time was in India, for example, the girl students used to miss classes because of health issues, mostly for hygiene reasons, like female hygiene reasons. But in Corcoran, it was teenage pregnancy and STDs. So there is same problem, somewhat similar, but not exactly identical. So interestingly, and what a coincidence, actually last year, the superintendent called me out of the blue and said, we want to honor Samantha. I said, why? So whatever you guys did, it was so effective. Now the community there is funding the program. So it's interesting, sometimes you do these things, they come back and help you. I remember I told you we made a contribution to the hospital in San Francisco at the time. I had no reason to believe I could be of any use to me. Many years later, my father-in-law was having a dialysis and kidney problem, and there's a kidney transplantation required, and then that's where he went. We had no idea that would happen. So good karma always comes back, and philanthropy always is a good thing. Tie it down with the family interests, manage your time and resources, it will be very helpful. It worked for me at least. So this is a picture in Corcoran near Fresno. And this is a Healthy Scholars van they had in India that would go to each school and they screen the students for health issues that would impact. That's one of the times they had actually looking at the ear of one of the students. The teachers wrote that off, that kid, as somebody who can't hear. We found out that there was a debris. In one kid, there was a pencil thing. For other kid, there was a stone. So things like that. It was so interesting. Once you remove it, I mean, the kid was smiling with joy. When you look at such things, you feel like you can go any amount to any extent to help these people, right? So what did it do? So the message of this was we had a problem, but we used philanthropy as a vehicle, as a family, that helped my daughter find out her passion as well. And later on, it really worked out very well. I really didn't want my daughter to become a doctor, but today she's here. And at 24, she's the youngest ophthalmology resident in the country. And she was able to find out her passion for helping vision-related things while doing so. If you ask me, when we started Healthy Scholars and when she started it, if we knew that we wanted her to become a doctor and do this ophthalmology, it's not true. It's a joke. It's not. It just happened that way. So the similar example I like to give is with respect to my dad. My dad is 86. He's nearby, but he's not here today in this conference. He was a teacher, as I told you. He was always a giver. The previous time, somebody was mentioning they're givers and takers. So he just wanted to, help some of the community. So, and then we realized that, it's always good to do things when people are around. And many times we all try to do philanthropic work. And I get inquiries like their parent or grandfather passed away, they want to institute an award or a scholarship, things like that. So my message to them is, why do you want to wait till they pass away? why don't you do it when they're alive, right? That was the reason why we started our Madala Foundation thing. This is a center that we built in my grandparents where they were. This is about 42,000 square feet facility. And you can ask me, why did you spend all that money over there? If I use the same money, I could have gone to every philanthropic event here and got a good reception at the head table, raised a toast, and got a good recognition from the people, from the host. But the thing is, it's not about me. The time for my things will come another time. But right now, this is meant for what makes my dad happy. And it's not money. So we built this one. And what we do there is we really try to energize the community in 10-mile radius in everything that they can possibly get, they would not otherwise get had we not done this. This is this thing that we do for school. And then we do vocational training center. So there are young women who bring them in, we give them vocational training, and then they get a job afterwards. Sometimes they start their own business. There were Muslim women who has never seen the day of the light. They're mostly inside the home. They never stepped out. And our community center was the first one they actually stepped out and learned a trade. And within 3 months, they were actually making more money than their husbands. So when they come and tell you those stories, it's very gratifying. And it's very gratifying for my dad, because no amount of money would have given him that feeling. The good thing is we're able to do all these things together. When my kids have break, we go there. And then, whenever I go visit my company in India, I take some time off to visit them. So it was very helpful. So what we do is we take high school dropouts, 12th grade, 10th grade, sometimes even college people. Most of the family, they wrote them off as some fit for nothing simply because they can't get a job. So we bring them in, we give them free food, free accommodation, and train them in skills, hospitality, tailoring, beautician, courses like that. And then usually immediately they find either a job or they start their own little thing. And some of them have been extremely helpful. They were able to go abroad to Singapore and in Dubai and places like that. So far we trained about 2,300 plus. This is just vocational training alone. But our center is really mostly to be something for everybody. We help them with yoga. Women come there for yoga. Kids come to play. Youth use it for sports, things like that, which is not normally available to other people. And during COVID times, we helped them with, one of the biggest problems with COVID was nobody would touch if somebody had a COVID thing. So that's exactly when somebody needs something. So we provided ambulances that time to transport them to the nearest hospital. So this is my dad over there in that picture. And again, the feeling that he gets when he saw and he does those things is priceless. He would have definitely come here. I really didn't want him because of the expected crowds or things like that, but maybe another day. This is my daughter's graduation last year. And then she's the youngest medical doctor. And then in UC, now she's in USC ophthalmology. She started about a few months ago. She's here. So my message is, I know you're all going to be prosperous, or you know somebody's going to be prosperous with time, effort, and generosity. So don't wait till you're really, really old or someday when you have independent wealth, so much left, so that you become more Bill Gates kind of person. Don't wait for that. Begin early and make it a habit. And here is our lessons. So if you are a person with young kids, I want to tell you, you can tell your kids all kinds of things, do good or what not to do, what to do, things like that. But more importantly, what they do is they actually watch what you do. It doesn't matter what you tell them. So make a philanthropic thing, habits that you follow, so they get to see. And it's an important life lesson that most universities cannot give it to them. The second one is align your interests and optimize your quality of time and other things, because the biggest valuable thing that is in short supply is time, especially time together with the family. So if you can align philanthropic interest and giving and kindness activities that you all can share together, that way you can spend time together. At the same time, you can optimize what you could do with your time. And finally, do good when people you care are around, instead of waiting until they're passed away. So then it'll be too late. So these are my takeaways for you. Hopefully, this 15 minutes that you invested with me is as valuable as I felt about this. Thank you so much.